Good morning. Welcome to our Talks with Anthony. Today we're going to have a insightful conversation. For those that are new to the channel, we make mental health conversations and content that's going to be beneficial to your personal development, in addition to your well-being, right? In today's conversation, we'll be talking about what am I learning about myself lately, right? I want us to take this in consideration because instead of asking yourself what is wrong with me and kind of just, picking yourself apart, why don't you ask yourself, what am I learning about myself lately, right? Really sit with yourself, you know what I mean? And just really understand, like, where am I going in regards to your personal development? What outcomes do you want to desire? Where are you heading? What's going on? You know what I mean? So I really wanted us to be more connected to ourselves. A lot of people are out here running away from themselves, right? Doing things, you're going to work, you're doing all these other things for other people, but what about yourself, right? So once, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, we gotta be able to kind of take within and understand that, we gotta be able to check in with ourselves. You know what I mean? So I really want us to develop this video, but let's normalize that experience, right? So many people spend more time evaluating themselves in regards to, like I said, picking themselves apart to understand themselves. But let's be real. You know what I mean? Most of us are using negativity to kind of criticize ourselves, you know what I mean? Pulling ourselves apart on a negative standpoint. But let's look at this in a positive aspect so we're able to, like I said, improve. You know what I mean? We don't got to sit here and feel guilty and pull ourselves down with negative emotions. We can also, get something out of this so we're able to push ourselves with that resilience to get to the outcomes that we desire, right? So there's comments, like I said, focus on the mistakes, the shortcomings, and even things that need to be fixed, right? But like I said, we can be accountable, we can accept these things, we also too can improve, right? So be gentle with yourself, be compassionate, but like I said, there is growth, you know what I mean? There's room for growth, right? So growth often happens so gradually that we also too can overlook what we have learned, right? So some of us out here we're going to school, we're so used to just doing our routine and repetition, you know what I mean, that we lose sight of like all the work that we've been doing, right? So like I said, that's why it's really important to slow down. I mean, put the books down, put the backpack down, whatever, get out the environment that you're in. If you're coming from a dysfunctional dynamic, right? And really just like sit with yourself and really like marinate, like I'm really doing the best I can, right? I'm doing literally the best I can, right? Things are happening, good things, they take time, right? And you know what I mean? Let's see the growth and the things that we have been doing, like I said, when we can sit down and really marinate with the learning experience within our lives, right? I really want us to understand that, right? So moving forward in regards to some psychoeducation, self-awareness is very important. That's why I always advocate for the journaling. You feel me? Y'all know what's up, you know what I mean? So develop this through the internal reflection, not self-criticism, right? So when you're journaling, you're writing things down, and I really like just, how are you feeling about yourself? Really assess yourself. What do you like? What's some good things going on, right? So really trying to just put down those experiences and have that self-awareness amongst yourself so you're able to, like I said, navigate with a positive standpoint, right? Experiences also too can be positive, can also too be difficult, right? But this also reveals values. This also reveals patterns, strengths, in addition to areas of growth that you're able to navigate through, right? So in addition to that as well, we also have reflection. Like I said, when you sit down, you'll be able to reflect on life, what's going on with yourself, the work that you've been putting in, right? The growth, where you're at right now, right? You went through whatever you went through, but you still somehow made it through, right? This will be able to help you recognize and give yourself that gratification that, you know what I mean, you are competent, you are strong, you are, you know what I mean, you got it, you know what I mean? So I really want us to understand, like I said, because we're so used to pulling ourselves apart and comparing ourselves with other people and stuff like that too, but ain't nobody can walk in your shoes, you feel me? You're one of one, you feel me? Even if you're a twin, your DNA is different, you feel me? They can't do what you do. Everybody's going to be different, right? So we can, you feel me? Like, but I really want us to understand, like, everybody has great gifts, specialties, regardless if you have a disability or not. Like, really understand, like, you have value, you have certain things that you can do that, you know what I mean, someone else possibly can't, right? So we have all specialties, but like I said, let's look within and with the reflection to be able to help us make more intentional choices, and at the same time, to have gratitude based on, like, you know, what we have done or our abilities, right? Moving forward in regards to a positive frame, this could be able to help us build a more sense of self, right? You don't have to completely, like I said, figure things out off rip. Like, you don't have to have everything all together. This is usually what people have, is a high expectation when they're trying to start things, or even coming to themselves. Like, it's a lot going on, right? And like I said, those that are coming from dysfunctional dynamics, or just people in general, your childhood dynamic, the way that your parents talk to you, your culture, your parental, you feel me, provision that was over you. I don't know what that was like. Only you know your story, right? But I really want us to understand is that let's stop comparing ourselves to other people. Let's stop having high expectations. Let's look at our strengths. Let's look at what we can do, what our capacity is, right? Let's look at what's on our plate, right? Not to the left, not to the right. Let's focus on ourselves. When you mind your business, you're able to level up. You feel me? I got to be real with you, right? But I really want us to understand, like, you don't have to have everything figured out, but we got to start. We got to take action. We got to, you know what I mean? little increments, and we have consistency. That's what's really going to keep moving forward. At the same time too, every season teaches us something different. So as we're navigating through life, every day ain't gonna be kindling, every day gonna be sweet, you feel me? So things are gonna fluctuate, things are gonna go up and down. That's why we have to have our coping skills, mindfulness, you feel me? Getting away from the distractions, getting away from people that ain't really on this trajectory of personal development, trying to grow, trying to prosper, trying to get right. We gotta make the best decisions for ourselves. We gotta move around, right? Some of us, like I said, we gotta sacrifice. Right? I mean, we gotta give. Something has to give. Something gotta give. So some of our habits we gotta cut. Some people around us we gotta cut. Some of the boundaries we gotta put up. You feel me? Some of the cancellations we gotta put up. We gotta really focus on ourselves. We want to be able to get the outcomes that we want. We gotta really go hard on ourselves. We gotta go hard on self-care. We gotta go hard on self-love. You feel me? We gotta spend more time on the sleep, the nutrition, making sure we're taking care of our body. You feel me? Or if we want these outcomes, I mean, we gotta. Something has to give. We gotta change, right? In addition to, like I said, coming back to that self-awareness, we gotta take in consideration self-awareness is gonna be able to help us give us that direction for that long term, right? It's not just focusing on the destination, but we got to be able to have the awareness to navigate. You know what I mean? Knowing our capacity, knowing when to take a break, right? Knowing when to slow down, knowing when to, you feel me? There's time and a place for stuff. You can still have fun, you can still do what you want to do, right? But knowing to, you feel me? To get back, right? Because we don't want to get lost into the sauce. I got to be real with y'all, right? And once again, those out there that get far, they mind their business. You feel me? They have their schedule, they have their routine, right? They understand that things come and go, fun comes and go, you feel me? But what about you? And this is why it's really important to, like I said, spend the time within yourself so you're able to, like I said, build this curiosity on, like, what do I want? Where am I going? Am I lost in the sauce hanging around these people? Or am I, what's going on, right? Because time does not wait for what? Nobody. I gotta be real with y'all, right? So let's get back into some examples I want to be able to give to you. Like I said, we may need to be able to learn how to make stronger boundaries. You may need to be able to discover, like I said, what truly matters to you, right? People have always been pointing at you, telling you how you're supposed to do things, or, you know what I mean? You're always accommodating for other people, but what about what's going to be beneficial for you, right? In addition to that as well, you may notice you're becoming more patient, resilient, or even more emotionally aware, right? Or even recognizing, like I said, you're outgrowing some of those habits, right? Of hanging around whoever, or just, you know what I mean? You're being this person, you're being passive aggressive, right? Or even the environments that you're in, right? Don't no longer align with, you know what I mean? Like I said, your values. I think this is really important to take in consideration, right? Moving forward in regards to micro action, right? I want us to be able to, like I said, set aside some time, right, in our day, right? We got time. You're able to get that 15-minute break on at work, whatever. But what about when you get out? What about yourself, right? Let's give ourselves time. We're able to think, right, thoroughly. So think about what has changed me lately. What's going on with you? How are you feeling about yourself, right? What brought you peace? And then what experiences about, you know what I mean, what's going on that reveal you, who you're becoming, right? Is your experiences helping you or are they hindering you, right? Like I said, we can change, right? You can change at any time in your life, right? But we got to be able to make those adjustments, like I said, for you, right? So coming to a close, I think that it's really important for us to set a goal, right? We got to set an expectation for ourselves so we're able to, you know what I mean? I know we gotta be too high, I don't gotta be too low, right? But we gotta keep ourselves accountable, right? So it's not about becoming a whole different person. Like I said, you can't just snap your finger, and I don't expect you to be the new person tomorrow. But what are you doing to help yourself? So honesty, I really want you guys to build that honesty with yourself. You know what I mean? Spending more time with the building that self-awareness with yourself, so you're able to know what's going on with you. You feel me? Talking to yourself, positive self-talk, right? Making the proper adjustments as needed. Like I said, boundaries. You feel me? Moving away from the wrong environment. You dig? And then, like I said, understand that seasons fluctuate, they come and go, right? So you may be in a rough season right now, but you feel me? You gonna break through, and you feel me? Things are gonna get smoother down the line, right? So you gotta understand how things are gonna go, right? It's gonna be life, but it's about the mindset, keeping that positive mindset, and like I said, having this self-awareness amongst yourself. If you found this video beneficial, to give it a thumbs up, share if possible, and I'll see you in the next one.